Well, hello, podcast listeners, and welcome. Welcome to the Doctor's Corner, where we acknowledge this nation's military and veteran population and encourage nationwide literacy. I am your host, Dr. K, a proud United States Navy veteran and mother to a United States Army soldier, Team Wilson. Today, we have another very special episode for your listening pleasure. But first, let me explain to our first-time listeners a little bit about the Doctor's Corner podcast show, which boasts two of my favorite pastimes, reading and acknowledging veterans. On the Doctor's Corner, we select various literary compilations from a wide variety of genres and share with you our subjective evaluations of whether it's a 5-star compelling read, a 3-star average read, or a 1-star, a less than compelling read. You know, kind of like film critics Eugene Siskel and Roger Ebert used to do in the late 1990s. But on the Doctor's Corner, it's with veterans and books. Well, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development and the U.S. Department of Education reported that only half of U.S. adults can read above the 8th grade reading level. And yes, I'm going to inform you of this 22 million more times until we improve our literacy prowess as a nation. So on the Doctor's Corner, we hope to augment the reading levels of U.S. adults by helping you to find your next compelling read, as well as initiating awareness of our military members and veterans who are serving or who have served. So on today's show, we're recognizing a veteran who has skillfully positioned himself as a health and wellness coach in the lives of many and still making a difference. Retired Lieutenant Commander Jeff Brown. A little bit about this Navy veteran. He's a father of 5 and a grandfather of 4. Jeff has learned the importance of not only taking care of oneself, but showing others how to achieve their health and wellness goals and live a life of gratitude. Jeff and his lovely wife, Melissa, wakes with a passion to teach, mentor, and coach others into adopting a healthy lifestyle, which is very much needed right now during this COVID-19 epidemic. So today, Jeff will educate me and you on building our immune systems, enhancing our overall health, and reducing or eliminating the opportunity factor that the COVID-19 virus has taken advantage of, with over 81,000 American deaths, 1.3 million confirmed COVID-19 cases, all reportedly due to a compromised immune system associated with underlying health conditions. So before we get started, Jeff, on this show, we love our veterans and appreciate their sacrifice. So before we venture into the health and wellness component, let's acknowledge your sacrifice. So first, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today and participating on the show.
You're very welcome, Dr. K. So glad to be here.
So please share a little bit about yourself and tell the TDC listeners who you are.
Thank you so much for asking and for that kind introduction. When asked who I am, I first think about who is asking and what I believe they would want to know about me. Mm-hmm. I'll use context as a guide, for instance. And in the context of our conversation today, I most want people to know that I'm a work in progress in all areas of my life. Each day I wake up, I get to move my clay a few more millimeters into creation. I have unwavering guiding principles which help me with direction and speed, or what I like to call my velocity vector. I like to define who I am more in terms of who I am becoming: a better husband, a better father and grandfather, a better friend, a better listener. Chasing better is who I am. Specifically, my wife, Melissa, and I have chosen a path of helping others who want better for themselves in the areas of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and even financial well-being. And we formed My One Healthy Life with the understanding that we only get this one life. Why not make it the best we possibly can for ourselves and for others?
So your company, your organization is called My One Healthy Life.
Yes.
When did you serve, and how long did you serve, and what was your rate?
Sure. Frankly, Dr. K, I'm not sure whether I chose the Navy or it chose me. While I was attending my freshman year at Texas A&M, 1980 to 1981, I received a brochure about the Navy Nuclear Propulsion Program. Somehow, in June of 1981, after my freshman year, I found myself at Navy Boot Camp, Orlando, Florida. I successfully completed the nuclear power training pipeline as a machinist mate and was selected to remain at the land-based reactor plant in Idaho Falls, Idaho as an instructor. And 6 months later, I was selected for an officer's commissioning program and returned to the University of Texas for 3 years and another pass through the nuclear power training program, this time as an ensign. I served on 3 submarines, with my last job being combat systems department head in charge of 60 men and 2 officers. I did acquire a master's degree from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, and retired as a lieutenant commander in July 2001, 2 months before 9/11. What a crazy time that was.
Wow, that is absolutely impressive. And yes, 9/11 was unprecedented. I mean, COVID-19 is unprecedented. Well, you said a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about. You said you served on 3 submarines, right?
Yes.
Did you ever have to pull into the ARCO, ARDM-5 in Point Loma? Right?
That's in Southern California, right?
Yes.
No, I never did pull in down there. I pulled into Pearl Harbor, and we did, when I was on East Coast, we did some operations down in the Bahamas. There's some operational areas and testing areas down there.
Okay. I was stationed on that floating dry dock, and we did maintenance and repairs to subs. So how interesting.
Yeah.
All right. What was your motivation for swearing in? What made you swear in? Okay.
Initially, my motivations for joining the armed services, the Navy, they were a bit selfish at first. Education. I was in school, and I looked into the Navy nuclear power program after getting that brochure and saw that it was some of the best technical training in the world, and it frankly still is. A lot of people don't know this, but the Navy nuclear power school for officers is equivalent to getting a Harvard or a Yale law degree, but in 6 months instead of 2 years.
Wow.
So that's kind of how the information is coming at you. So, and as the years passed, I sort of learned what it meant to be part of the service to our country and protecting our way of life. For instance, we won the Cold War while I was in the service. We had a very real adversary during the early part of my career. The mission sets were clear. And on the other side of the wall coming down, things were not so clear, but we did adapt to those new threats. The first Gulf War was just a couple of years after the Cold War ended, and it seems like we're actually still fighting that one over there. Being part of a team with a clear sense of purpose and constantly seeking ways to be better at our jobs became very important to me. Helping others become better at their jobs and better versions of themselves is part and parcel of the submarine force. We actually survived that way. I had a blessed career and even decided to continue serving as a defense contractor for several years, even spending a year in Afghanistan with a couple of Army combat brigades as an advisor for counterinsurgency over there.
Wow. You've done a lot.
I'm old.
Oh, my gosh. What a summary. Okay. Well, you mentioned something about your education, and I'm a lifetime learner. So you attended University of Texas at Austin, where you joined the military, and then you went to the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. Now, did you go physically, or was it something online?
Physically. I physically got to go to Monterey, California, and I'm so glad. It's beautiful out there.
Wow. And your master's was in what? Operations
research. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, as I mentioned earlier, education was a primary reason why I joined the military in the first place. But there were many reasons I left after 1 year of college for the military. I won't go into those, but I actively looked for opportunities to continue my education. Okay. The first being the Navy nuclear power program itself. When I was selected for the officers commissioning program at my 2-year point, I had a choice of like 6 or 7 schools around the nation, with UT Austin being the only Texas-based option. Since I'm a Texas boy, coming back home seemed to be the best thing to do at the time. Mom and Dad were still around then, and it would just put me closer to them. I had to pursue a technical degree in electric computer science, and this was in 1983. I had no idea how much that decision would come to mean in later years, picking up computer science way back then. After my first 2 submarine tours, which was actually a split tour, 2 years on USS Alabama and 2 years on USS Montpelier when she was under new construction in Newport News Shipyard, I was selected for the master's program opportunity, as we were talking about there, at Naval Postgraduate School, Monterey. And I opted for that degree in operations research, which, coincidentally, my former boss on Alabama had told me about. He happens to be the current director of the Naval Nuclear Power Program, a 4-star admiral, James Frank Caldwell. I've actually used that degree for most of my post-Navy career in ways I never imagined I would at the time. OR is kind of a field of mathematics that can be applied across many different industries, including even nonprofit evaluation and monitoring, which is another passion of mine. And as you said earlier, Dr. K, continuous education, continuous learning is a strong theme in my life. And frankly, if we're not learning, we're devolving, right?
Right. That's right. I like that. I think I'm going to jot that down. So it's interesting that you studied something, you wasn't really sure if you were going to use it, and you end up using it primarily throughout later years of your life, right?
Yes.
Which makes that quote, it's better to have and not need than to need and not have, hold true.
Exactly. I love that.
So hindsight is always 20/20, and as a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces, how has the military impacted your life? Positive or not so positive?
Well, I've answered this a few ways already, but to sum it up, very positive in the sense of learning how to live a disciplined, structured life of meaning, the importance of continuous learning and growth, and most important, the vital nature of teamwork and working alongside like-minded people in all aspects of life. And that's actually one of the 6 major habits of health that we teach on now as certified health coaches, which I'll talk in a second, but the habit of healthy surroundings. And it's so critical right now during COVID that we, in lockdown, that we surround ourselves with healthy people, healthy-minded people. We may not always get that choice, but I think people are finding out the kind of people they want in their life during this lockdown. And that's just one of those things that I learned a long time ago in the military.
I've done several shows with veterans, and a common theme that I'm finding when I ask this question, they say discipline, commitment, growth, and teamwork. So ultimately, there will be a day that I'll do some type of collective culmination of my shows and talking to different veterans, and I'll put together this theme, but it seems like that's something that the military really ingrained in us. And I do believe they did that in boot camp. I really
We had a common enemy in the drill instructor, right?
No better way to make something happen than teamwork on that one.
That's right.
So oftentimes veterans, when they do transition out of the military, they hit lots of bumps and bruises and potholes along the way because there's a different mindset when they do venture into the civilian sector. What did society look like to you after you completed your military obligation?
So that's a great question, Dr. K. And the way I think about resilience is we get out what we put in. And I'm thankful for my military career, for my personal and professional growth, for all that I learned about myself, and for the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others in our country. I even like to think I played an ever so small part in winning the Cold War, for instance. I'm a Cold War hero. There's not a ribbon for that, but it's a thing. One of my favorite aphorisms is event plus response equals outcome. We don't always get to choose the events in our lives. There were some days, weeks, even months when things weren't always rosy and wonderful, but I always got to choose my response. And no, I didn't always choose well necessarily, but I realized early in my life, if it is to be, it's up to me. You know, my days, weeks, months, years were only going to be as positive as my response, which is the one variable in that equation I got to select. And if the folks listening get just one thing from what I have to say today, it is this: E+R equals O. You get to choose R. How will you respond to the events in your life? And walk this dog backward. How have you prepared yourself to show up for the events in your life? And that's where we get back to our habits.
I like that. The event is going to come. Your response is the variable. You get to choose it.
Yes.
And potentially
all
determine.
The difference in the outcome.
Yeah, I like that. We talked about operations research. We talked about nuclear science. And today you continue to serve others in a lifestyle change relative to being a coach for health and wellness. How did we make that transition?
Well, one, it was a matter of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. So 2.5 years ago, Melissa and I found ourselves on a not so healthy path. We were getting a little sedentary, getting a little less focused on our health than we should be. So we got serious. We found a program that was amazing. We decided to, at that point, sort of become health coaches ourselves, having adopted that program. I started with that because I believe that why we do what we do gives more meaning to what we do. So what we found out is that we wanted to become the best versions of ourselves, which also for us includes helping others do the same thing. Some other motivation, we saw how the unhealthy choices of our parents and grandparents had led to potentially preventable disease and even early death, and that we needed to make some changes and break that cycle of disease in our own family. We desired to break old, unhealthy habits, start new healthy ones to be around as long as possible for our family and with our family. So after working on ourselves, we decided to pay it forward by helping others obtain their one and only healthy life and the best version of themselves. We believe that given the opportunity, most would also desire to leave that same legacy of breaking the cycle of unhealthy habits leading to disease for their families and friends. So that's why it's our mission, as we call ourselves, lifestyle transformation specialists, is to guide others toward their own healthy life through habit installation process to live healthier, happier lives for as long as possible. And when we understand that we can truly lead with our health and how priceless and important good health really is, especially right now, we're seeing with COVID, we awaken some serious intrinsic motivation. As veterans, we also want to honor all veterans, first and frontline responders who want to work with us with a discount. For instance, our oldest daughter is an ICU nurse, and she's treated COVID patients in the ICU where she is, and she's actually one of our heroes. So we want to be a part of helping that community get and stay healthy as well.
Absolutely. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this.
Sure.
What have you learned about COVID that My One Healthy Life can help someone else?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And first of all, I just want to say we don't make any medical claims. Sure. But we have many stories of people getting healthy, applying our Healthy Habits program to their lives, which includes us walking along beside them, encouraging them, supporting them, holding them accountable to their own goals, that we even help them work those out from the first conversation. As far as COVID, we're seeing several pre-existing conditions which have much worse outcomes when infected by COVID-19. And from the CDC website, based on what we know now, those at high risk for severe illness are people 65 and older, people who live in a nursing home or a long-term care facility. For instance, Melissa's mom has COPD and is in a senior assisted home not far from where we live. And when we visited her on Mother's Day, we had to do so with a plexiglass barrier between us so that she wouldn't get infected. And it's the same for all the rest of the residents there. So here's some other underlying medical conditions which, if not controlled, can also be comorbidities or pre-existing risk factors. Chronic lung diseases, moderate to severe asthma, serious heart conditions, immunocompromised, people with severe obesity, and their definition is a body mass index of 40 or higher, people with diabetes, chronic kidney disease undergoing dialysis, and people with liver disease. Our program, when followed, helps mitigate some of these pre-existing conditions, especially obesity and diabetes. Our program of Healthy Habits was designed by a critical care physician with the goal of helping others achieve optimal health, whatever that looks like for an individual. We all start somewhere, but we can start making better choices today to achieve those millimeters of creation toward optimal health. And we even train others how to help others do this as well. And our own story, I didn't tell you this, but 2.5 years ago, I weighed 50 more pounds than I do now. I had 10 more inches on my waist than I do now. Melissa lost 5 dress sizes.
Wow.
I had some significant inflammation in my joints, which I no longer have. We're sleeping better, more energy, more mental clarity, even better gut health. And that's why we decided to pay it forward and become health coaches ourselves. It works for us. It works for 2 million others who are also adopting this lifestyle, and we just love it and want to help others.
Very nice. So when you say adopt this lifestyle for a beginner like myself and probably a whole lot of listeners, what does that look like? Is that a phone call? Is that drinking water every day? What does that look like to someone?
Great question. Our founder, Dr. Anderson of the Habits of Health Transformational System, recognized the need to make this system, this lifestyle change, very achievable, setting the bar very low as far as daily goals. He's got an educational system that's just been revised as of last year. And the lifestyle change that we're talking about covers 6 major areas of health, such as weight management, hydration, sleep, nutrition, even healthy mindset, and healthy surroundings, like I was talking about earlier. But we have a life book that contains 26 elements related to those 6 major habits of health that you proceed through at your own pace, but it's designed to go through in a year. So since this is not a diet or a weight loss program, but indeed a true lifestyle change, and in order to change habits, it just takes time. You know, on average, it takes about 66 days to truly change and install a new habit. So we're looking for folks who truly want to make a lifestyle change for themselves, for their families, in their health. And it's just done one baby step at a time with the system that Dr. A has put together. That's the system we teach. We have videos, we have, phone calls, whatever it takes to help someone get through this one step at a time.
And this wouldn't just be for someone with underlying conditions. This is for someone that may want to just simply improve their lifestyle as well?
That's right. We have people from all walks of life, even personal trainers. They learn how to teach the habit of healthy motion, but not so much on the nutrition side of things. So people who are already at their goal weight, but just, as you say, want to learn a healthier way of living. Dr. A himself, he's 66. He now plans to do some heli-skiing, jumping out of helicopters and skiing down mountains. So whatever people want to achieve with their lives, they can, but they have to really start with their health and get that right, and then they can start moving toward those crazy goals.
Sure. I'm going to ask a question that I am sure all the listeners are wanting you to answer. Or it could just be me. Why is it that everything that tastes so good is not good for you?
Oh, don't get me started on that, Dr. K. That's actually intentional on the side of the food industry. I don't want to be bad-mouthing a whole industry out there, but they have created scientifically based studies on taste, sight, smell, texture, and even the addictive qualities of certain chemicals and additives they can put in food so that you don't want to stop eating it. There's a whole books written about how the food industry has been sabotaging our health for years, not to mention the way food is even grown and harvested and transported. By the time it gets to our bellies, it has very little nutritional value. That's why we have to be educated as individuals to know what is right for us, what's best for us. That's why I love what Dr. Anderson has put together. But yeah, pizza tastes great. Hamburgers taste great. But over time, if that's all you eat, I'm a chocolate fiend. I could eat, chocolate every day like a bear, going into the cupboard. But I just have learned, this is another thing I love that Dr. A is put together in the program, and that's, what is your fundamental decision? And if my fundamental decision is optimal health, then that's going to help drive all those other primary and secondary decisions every day. When I'm faced with a donut at work, I can stop and challenge whether I should eat that donut and ask myself, is this in support of my long-term goal for optimal health or not? Will this serve me or will it not serve me? So just having that fundamental decision of optimal health, not just immediate gratification, is a big help. And by the way, Dr. A did put out an over 100-page ebook called Stop, Challenge, and Choose, and he's authorized us to give free copies of that to anybody who wants one. So I'm going to make that offer to your listeners right now. If anybody wants a copy of that, we can talk about how to do that at the end of the broadcast here.
Very nice. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So the answer to that question is that the industry, the food industry, have figured out all of our weaknesses relative to nutrition as humans, and they use that against us. And the only way to combat that is to get smarter about it.
Make different choices. Now, we even have a dining out guide that helps people who still want to go to restaurants. I mean, Melissa and I, we still go to restaurants. Mm-hmm. But we now know how to choose, how much to choose, and we always get a to-go box. We never finish what's on the plate. We always get a to-go box at the time of ordering because we know we're not going to eat everything because the portion sizes are so huge that it's just not realistic. It doesn't support our fundamental decision for optimal health, right?
That's right. That's right. It makes sense. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and when I moved to Texas, the plate size are almost the size of a small TV. It's like, are you kidding me? And, you know, you're taught to eat everything on your plate. But there was no possible way that I could eat everything. So, yes, I do here in Texas have a to-go container when I do go to restaurants, especially at Papa Do's. I love Papa Do's. What's your favorite restaurant that you have to fight? We know chocolate, but what's your favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant, one here in Arlington, it's Istanbul Grill. It's a Turkish Middle Eastern restaurant. They have great healthy choices, and we love the owner. She's from Turkey, and she's always given us, you know, little tastes of stuff.
Really? I'm going to have to try it. I've seen it, never tried it.
She has one in Fort Worth, too, at Sundance Square. So if you want to try either one, the menus are the same.
Very nice. I'm definitely going to try it. I've seen it before. So how do you see Americans after COVID-19 with the threat that it's made on people's health, the fact that people are quarantined? What do you see the nation looking like relative to healthy choices post-COVID-19?
Well, that's a great question too, Dr. K. And I believe that health has become top of mind for a lot of people, for everybody, frankly, as a result of this. They're just more conscious of their health. Now, in lockdown, there's basically been two buckets that people have fallen into. Either they've given in to all of those cravings, the comfort foods, the carb loading, just to get through it and manage stress, or they've taken this opportunity to start making better choices, to take the time to maybe do some extra meal prep, or, you know, even walk more or work out more. We have a total gym here at home that we use, one of those old Chuck Norris devices. I just did some research on that. It was actually invented back in 1972 or some way back there. I didn't get mine until 15 years ago, but great machine. So people who come out of this on the other side of this, they're going to be in one of those two camps, and they're either going to be full of regret because of missed opportunities with their health, or they're going to be, you know, celebrating that they made better choices. And that's really what we want to be a part of, is awakening intrinsic motivation for people, helping them to understand that they can make better choices, how to make better choices, and that there are options, and it doesn't have to be for, I love this phrase. I forget where I heard it, but instead of living to eat, we should eat to live. We should give our bodies just what it needs to thrive, and not more or not less. That makes sense?
That makes sense. Well, we mentioned COVID. We talked about COVID. We talked about how having a healthy lifestyle could mitigate the opportunity factor that COVID has had on hundreds and thousands of Americans. One of the last questions that I have for you is that COVID-19 has put the nation in a predicament where we have done something that we've never done before. And I've shared this with many, many people, that the only people that can kind of tell us what to do with a plague on earth were people in the Bible. We have absolutely no idea how to handle this COVID. So we've all quarantined, which was, you know, under the recommendations of scientists and doctors and epidemiologists and so forth and so on. Well, just last year, we have 6,000 veterans that are killing themselves a year. And this had nothing to do with quarantine. But now, with the impact or this compounded factor of COVID-19, what would you say to a veteran that has lost all hope? COVID-19 has them quarantined. They're probably already not doing their bodies right. They're maybe dealing with some familial issues that are heavy. If they could hear you and are listening right now, what would you say to a brother and sister in arms that COVID-19 has just about pushed them over the edge?
I get it. Well, the first thing is, remember, you are not alone. You may have a very carefully constructed fortress with strong, thick, high walls to protect yourself emotionally from what's out there, but you're not alone. And if you would but peek out that big, powerful oak front door that you've built around yourself, you would see many other such fortresses all around you. You're not the only one who's hurting, who's feeling lost, who doesn't know what's next, doesn't know where up is. Second, ask for help. There are many resources. Reach out. Self-care is the best care. And I'll just add this as well. Leading with your health, your physical health, is probably one of the best things you can do. I'm not just saying that because I'm a health coach, but frankly, when the body is right, the mind has a much better chance of being right. So learn to ask yourself, what is the next right thing for me to do in this moment? It brings you to right now without focusing on the overwhelm of the past or the great unknowable future. Maybe you just need to get out of bed, have a healthy breakfast, go for a walk. Maybe you need to make a long put-off phone call. Maybe go to work. Whatever it is, you, and you know who I'm talking to, that's you, will know what the next right thing is for you to do. And for most, it might just be asking for help. Be willing to accept help. Last, remember to breathe. Some people need to learn to breathe. There are actually some excellent breathing and meditation resources out there. And I happen to know a few who work specifically with veterans and have online programs for helping with these kinds of things. You're not alone. Ask for help. Keep doing the next right thing, and sometimes just focus on that. And don't forget to breathe.
Very well stated. Please share any services and where people can make contact with you.
Sure. My 411. So the two main services I would like folks to know about are my work with nonprofits. I know that I just found this out a few days ago. There's over 300,000 nonprofits in DFW alone, and 30 to 40% of those focus on veterans. So I like to help nonprofits understand, measure, and communicate their true impact through continuous monitoring and periodic evaluation programs. That's one. Second, Melissa and I want to help others break the chains of poor health and disease in families. We love to show others how they can make different choices, create new habit pathways to create sustainable and lifelong transformation for them and their future generations. This is our legacy. This is how we want to go out. Our website is m1hl.com. That's Mike1HotelLima.com. And I am M1HL Jeff on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, and M1HL Jeffrey on Facebook. Feel free to connect on any of those platforms. We'll be happy to do a free health assessment for anyone who wants to set that up with us. It takes about 20 minutes just to get a baseline for where you are and some options for where to get to where you want to be. And that ebook, Stop, Challenge, Choose by Dr. Anderson, feel free to reach out. I can also provide you a copy of that, Dr. K, in case folks want to just reach out to you directly. You can provide that. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Indeed. I'll end with this. As a former submariner, actually people have asked me how I've been dealing with staying at home. Well, one, I've been working from home for 7 years as an analyst, consulting analyst. But as a former submariner, frankly, I could weld all the doors shut, paint the windows black, and be fine for months. Okay? Another way the submarine service trained me for that I had no idea was coming.
That's hilarious. Oh, my goodness. Okay, point taken. You were well prepared for this. Well, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today, offering us insight on the health and wellness component. And in an effort to combat this COVID-19, which, again, starts with that equation that you informed us on. We are the variable. So we got the event. We are the R, the variable, the response.
Response, how we respond.
To equal our outcome.
Yeah,
Thank
simple.
You. Very simple.
But hard to do, hard to put into practice sometimes. And that's where we come in.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, Dr. K, glad to be a part of your service to others.
Well, listeners, this concludes another episode of the Doctor's Corner, Combating COVID Military Style, with United States Navy retired Lieutenant Commander Jeff Brown. In light of the current state of America, this time is the opportune time to do something different, to grow, to evolve. Like Jeff said, if we're not learning, we're devolving. We're only promised 10, so in this short span of life, treat yourself right, build the best you, and make a difference in this world when engaging with others. There's a saying attributed to Albert Einstein. He stated the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Do something different, challenge yourself, and push the better you towards greatness. And remember, Jeff talked about an equation, E+R equals O. In this short lifespan, we're all going to have an E, or a plethora of E's, events. Something is always bound to happen. Plus our R, which is our response. That's our variable. And I believe with a healthier mind and body, we can make and leave a worthwhile footprint and help improve whatever our O, our outcome is going to be. E+R equals O. The events in life plus our response will equal our outcome. To learn more about My One Healthy Life, you can visit myonehl.com. Also, you'll find a link included with this post, and you can download Dr. Anderson's free book called Stop, Challenge, and Choose. Once again, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this episode of The Doctor's Corner. To learn more about The Doctor's Corner, feel free to send us an email at thedoctorscorner2018@gmail.com. Be well and stay safe.